Could you turn that lamp off?
Sure.
Thanks.
Let's see if I can not reposition everything.
I mean, it's one thing. I think it's better without the mic stand. Like this is, you can always keep it below your face. The problem was you.
Did I have a stand last time?
Yeah, because we were with Pat. And the
we didn't have the third arm
Third
yet.
boom arm didn't show up yet.
Mm.
But we're here now.
I feel exhausted and confused about like what day it is.
I want to be like, we're back. You know, like we've been gone for a long time, but it's been a week.
No.
I mean, Friday to Sunday. It's been 9 days.
Since Pat was here.
Yeah.
I just don't believe you.
It was the Friday before Easter,
which
was last week.
I think it's because being in New York for an event and moving around so much, like.
That was that the longest we've both been out of town in like 6 months?
Even then, I feel like last time we were both out of town was New York, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that was 2 nights.
Yeah.
This was 3.
So this was a pretty, I don't know, like
so
a long trip, but yeah.
Ooh, last summer when we went to
Yeah.
London for that stupid event.
Right. Yeah. Who's introducing this?
I was literally thinking about that a few minutes ago when I was like finishing making drinks. And like, I know it's necessary. I'm not there yet with the like, welcome back. I'm either going to make it a joke, like pretending to be Frasier, or I guess I can get used to.
Did you introduce it with Patrick or did I?
Can't remember.
I can do it.
I think you did it.
You think I did?
I think you did.
So you want to introduce it?
Welcome back to Hypercritical, a podcast where 2 privileged people complain. Cheers.
Oh.
You drinking over the arm is pretty entertaining. I did disclaim already that my headspace is off from traveling.
Yeah. Who are you?
Genuinely just now I was like, what?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm Shannon Staten. I'm the host of the podcast, and this is my co-host.
This time.
Like founder, co-founder?
Yeah. Real funny. But, yeah, I mean, we did just come back from traveling. I think, like, this past week has been weird. And one, it's funny because, like, these aren't being released on any kind of schedule at all.
We're working on that.
We're on episode 6, and none of them are live yet. But this episode's weird because last Sunday was a holiday. Mm-hmm. And both of our families came over. And it was a full, solid day.
It got so boozy towards the end of the day.
I mean, for you and your
my
family.
My family
yeah.
came over.
And then so Sunday was like an all-day marathon thing. Saturday was obviously busy because we knew that our families were coming over and we were getting ready, cleaning up, cooking and all the other stuff. And then like we were gone from Tuesday morning until Friday
night. Yeah.
So, it just feels like, and we're not often gone for that long. We travel a lot, but like we're not often both gone for that period of time. So it just feels like it's been a month.
Well, I think it's compounded by the fact that it was an event too. And each half day is like 4 days. And like the days are just long. Like it feels longer, but they're also longer because like you're up really early and usually out pretty late. Second sip there.
Oh.
And you're also like mentally super switched on the whole time. Like me and my role at events, everybody's turning to me for like, what's next? What's the schedule? Where do we go? And just, I love this group. So I don't mean to make it sound like it's like uphill and work to deal with them, but I'm just switched on the whole time. So I feel very tired from, that whole combination of all those things. But I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and she's at the company I just left. And she's like, we just did a virtual event and I still don't feel right. Like I still feel exhausted, and it's like a hangover that you can't recover from.
Right.
And I realized how accurate that is, because every time I get back from traveling for an event, I need like a solid week off.
Yeah. Well, and especially like, you know, we can disclaimer what your job is in a little bit, but like you're going to, and like a lot of people go to New York as a vacation, you know, like
That makes me laugh. Like,
Yeah.
honestly,
yeah.
you're right. But
Yeah, and like a lot of the places that you end up going for your business and for your work are like places that people go for holiday, but like you're literally like, you know, and again, like this sounds ridiculous, but like you're breakfast, lunch, and dinner hosting, and like, you know, trying to keep up with like the people that are there that want to stay out until 3 a.m. and like, you know, it's important to like have that FaceTime and be with them, but at the same time, it, you know, yeah, it's having fun and, you know, spending time with people, but it's also you're working the whole time.
yeah.
So yeah, it can be exhausting. But and then I'm you know, most throughout the day like working from the hotel and then taking a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day. So like,
It's nice.
you know, it's just not the same not being in your own bed and
Just stop talking. Man, I really do love the fact that I travel for work, and I have for a long time. That's been the case for like almost my entire career.
Yeah.
Being on the event side of finance, and it used to be like I would go to California a couple times a year, and then I changed jobs, and it was like going to New York like every month, and then for quite a while actually that didn't entail a lot more than that. Maybe Cayman. Like once a year, which super privileged to have been able to go down there, to the point where like I don't want to go back. I've been enough. And then it escalated very suddenly, and it became like a running joke in my family. Like, where are you going next?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm going to Peru tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I think too, like we've also like, you know, we've also always traveled a lot on our own, and like even when we had no money to travel.
True.
You know, like when we went on our honeymoon to Europe, you know, like from the United States, like flying to London, and we're super fortunate that like, you know, my family and like some of our friends like gave us some money to like pitch in on that.
Yeah, they gave us cash,
Yeah.
not stuff for our kitchen.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't need stuff for our kitchen because
Right.
I worked at Williams Sonoma,
Yeah.
but still.
But like, you know, we didn't have any money. We had no business doing a trip to Europe. But I feel like it was less expensive then, and then also like, you know, we saved a lot of money to do that. Like we paid for our own wedding, and
Our wedding
had-
wasn't extravagant.
yeah.
It was like 35 people.
Yeah, we had
and
just
barbecue.
enough money to like take the trip afterwards. And you know, I think we've always like found, you know, even, you know, when we were married, we were starting our relationship, you know, however many tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt. Like, you know, it's like we found ways to do it, you know, and we didn't have like great jobs at that point. But you know, we've both like kind of always found ways to travel, whether it was for work or just finding like kind of personal ways to do it. But I think we have a lot of experience there.
We do, for sure. And for a while there, especially like in 2021 and 2022, I was traveling so much and frequently by myself.
Yeah.
Because we both worked at the same company, so it was kind of weird. It's not weird for us, but weird
Yeah.
for other people who got to make the call
Yeah.
for you to go with me and be
Right.
at these events, because they're events that are in like luxury properties, and
Yeah.
it was too much of a perk
And it
to
wasn't
extend to you.
but it also like it's silly.
was
But
stupid.
you know, anyway, like we don't have to get into that. But like it wasn't adding cost.
No.
You know, like I was gonna use your hotel room that was already being paid for, and any of those times that I did travel, I was like, well, I'll you know, pay for my own flight, and there's no cost to them. You know, like, but
It was some whatever.
it
This
was,
is a
you know.
different conversation.
Yeah.
It's also the reason why I run my own business now.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want, which is why you came to New York.
yeah,
But yeah, I would like frequently travel by myself, and even like internationally, which did become like a really weird feeling for me. Because I remember when I first went to New York, like early in my career, I was so incredibly nervous.
yeah,
I like got off the plane at LaGuardia, which this is before they renovated, and it was kind of a dump. but like it's not like a big scary airport.
Yeah.
It's like a regional airport.
Yeah.
And I remember like running through my head, literally like, you're an adult, you can do this. Just keep walking. Just follow the signs and say ground transportation.
Yeah.
Then you get a taxi, and then you just you stay calm. Literally, like freaking out a little bit.
Then like you know the story of when I first traveled by myself, and
my
it was
God.
going to Italy with like some colleagues of mine when I taught at the university. We were going to the Biennale, and like again one of those things where like no money to do that, but like we figured out how to do it, and like I'm flying to a foreign country where the primary language, although they speak English, but like I in my head, at least getting ready for it, I was like, do people speak English there? Is it just going to be people speaking Italian? Do I need to know Italian? Do I need to practice? Like,
oh, and you were so ready, and they just spoke English to you. Especially in Venice.
I practiced for 6 months, and then like, I was ready for like all of the like scenarios and situations, practicing in my head, and like walked up to the ticket counter to get my bus ticket into the city, and I was like, and she's like, do you need a ticket? And I'm like, fine. I think I spoke more Italian.
You should have pretended in Italian
that
you don't speak English and you're confused.
I almost said no habla inglés. That's Spanish.
Oh my God, that reminds me of when I was in Peru.
Yeah.
I think I was just like exhausted. And because like we were on the move that trip, we were literally like every city. We were only there for one night. I was really, really tired, and I was like out in public at a pharmacy or something. I needed to buy something, and some woman just came up to me and started talking to me, like asking me about something. And I think I said, you don't speak Spanish. I think I said, you don't speak Spanish in Spanish. And of course she was like, fuck you, and like walked away. And I just stood there like, oh God. It's so funny how you can get mixed up. And
but yeah,
like,
so like I'm flying to Italy by myself, and I'm just
I
like,
want to tell 6 stories at the same time, and I have 3 more, but go ahead.
But we have to move. It's not about telling stories about not being able to speak English or another language, but like, but yeah, I remember texting you. Like I can still clearly remember like sitting down, in the cheapest flight seat I could possibly get. I was squeezed into like this father and son, and he's like playing his Game Boy. I was smaller back then.
I was gonna say you were significantly less like
but
wide.
I remember like sitting down and like texting you and being like, I'm too little for this. I'm not an adult. I shouldn't be doing this. What am I doing? But
you have to say it like, I'm too little for this.
Yeah.
And that was what, like how many years ago was that? Like 10?
Probably. I mean, maybe 8.
19, 17, 15. 8 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
I always remember because Biennale's every 2 years, and I know when we went with Morgan and Jack.
Right.
But I mean, traveling alone internationally for the first time is scary. Like I don't care who you are.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter where you're going. You're going to a foreign country, whether it's London or Italy.
Well, London is overwhelming because it's a massive city, and it's easy to navigate once you've done it. But everything is scary the first time you do it.
Well, us going to New York the first time, and we're like too terrified. Did we already talk about this on the podcast?
I feel like we did.
Yeah, we're too terrified to take a taxi or the subway, and we're just like
being scared.
We'll walk. It's fine.
Being scared to take the subway in New York, I think is totally acceptable. And like I've spent a lot of time in New York on my own, walking the streets. I'm totally comfortable getting a taxi. I think Ubers are stupid. In New York City, I wonder how well we're going to be able to hear that. He's on top of the refrigerator. Oh. Well, he's trying to do what he does by the stairs, which is...
So he'll fall down.
He's going to fall any minute. Yeah, so it's going to be great. But I just feel, and I'm going to sound super like pretentious, like come up with something, please, for the screen when this happens. But like, I have been, oh God, no.
Come on. What are you going to do now? Don't do that.
You're going to get hurt, buddy.
This is ridiculous.
No.
He's just showing up.
All four. Oh my God. No.
I wish that they could see this.
Oh my God.
What is he thinking?
What is the matter with you? Don't do that. God.
Why would you do that?
All 4 paws were just on.
There's nothing for the viewers that could not see that.
Jesus.
He climbed on top of the refrigerator, and then he's grasping his way up a column, like to to climb to the top of it, and he's just suspended on the edge of this thing.
And by the way, this is an old house, so he's destroying things that have existed for 120 years.
There's claw marks
Oh my god.
into things, but that's fine. It's all right. He's gonna go right back. Where's
Where's the new one?
I don't know. What about that rat or something?
Give him the rat.
Yeah. It's a toy. It's not a live animal. All right. So
God.
I think you said pretentious alert.
Pretentious alert is right. Okay. I have, mostly because of like a trip I took in college, I have been on a lot of undergrounds.
Yeah.
In Europe.
Subways and yeah.
Right. Like Berlin, Paris, London, a couple other places.
Yeah.
And those are scary and intimidating until it clicks and you're like, this is a system that
there's
makes sense.
logic.
Exactly.
And then you go to New York and they're like blue, green.
But there's numbers and letters.
A12. And you're like, oh, I don't.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like a total sadist came up with that. So anyway, I stand by our decision to just be like, not even going to try it in New York. I can't remember the bigger picture point of why we're on this part specifically.
But I don't know. He totally like derailed that entire conversation. But I do think there is something that I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And
is it cat hair on black shirts?
Yeah, it's embarrassing. We're professional.
Are we?
No, there's something that I want to talk about.
Okay.
And more so, like, there's something we need to talk about.
Oh God.
And that's travel etiquette. I wanted to do some build up to qualify our experience.
Okay.
You know,
well then can I close the loop on mine because I know where I was, but finish your thought.
But like, you know, and again, pretentious alert, put it on the screen again. Like we have traveled a lot, you know, when on the cheap, super, you know, without any money.
Middle seats on an international flight. Like we've done that
in like
plenty of times.
Basic economy, you know, like, and we've also been really fortunate to travel a lot for work and like have our jobs pay for it. And
then we use personal miles to get bumped up to a better class.
Right.
Like it's never like us paying cash for expensive flights.
I want to talk again. We'll come back to that. The perks of traveling all the time. But we have a lot of experience traveling. And I feel like there are some things that like, I don't know if this is like a PSA or like, I just want to vent.
I'm genuinely scared. Okay. So I'm genuinely nervous about this subject coming up because it is probably one of the biggest triggers for me. And the loop I wanted to close on like my travel and my experience is, again, like I've traveled alone to so many places, so many times. I can't even tell you. Like I think in 2021, I took something like 75 flights.
Right.
Like
insane.
I know, like domestic, like to the West Coast, to like Mountain Time, to New York, to South America, like all over and by myself. And I know, I guess like maybe that's an advantage I have in that I've done it so much. I'm comfortable and I can move really fast and I know what's expected of me and I can keep my head down and just, so anyone who's there who hasn't done it or is, you know, slow or whatever the case may be, I'm just not being very patient with them. But like that just makes it really hard for me to watch people who like are clearly not listening when the flight attendant is saying over and over again, your little bag can go under the floor, needs to go under the seat in front of you, and your bigger bag goes on top. So when I see people get on the plane and shove both and then stretch their legs out, I'm like, oh, must be nice for you.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get to that. What was your closing the loop? Did you get to do that?
Basically that I've just like, I've done this a lot. So it's further to your point, which is like, we're not complaining about something being done wrong that we don't have any experience with. Yeah. We're complaining about something being done wrong, especially since the wrong here, in my opinion anyway, is just people not listening.
And I think it's also like common sense and like common courtesy. But
That's the bigger issue.
and like I don't know how you want to approach this. Like
I'm gonna try not to raise my voice again because I was already kind of getting there, and it's like
Do
no one wants
you-
to listen to that.
I kind of want to go like the whole experience.
Okay.
You know, like let's just like walk through it from leaving your house, you know, to, you know, getting to the city you're in, like step by step.
So like,
Because otherwise we're going to be all over the place, and we're going to talk about people putting bags in overhead.
so okay,
compartments
for us, I feel, are we talking
45
like
minutes.
calling an Uber, or do you want to start with like arriving at the DFW? How much is there to say in between house
Yeah,
and
I mean,
airport?
like, I think in general, like, there, you know, the only thing I think I would say is talk about, like, you know, how people, like, show up in security or whatever. You know, and, like,
No, yeah.
they're not prepared at all. And they're like, you want me to do what?
Especially
You know, and
when
it's
you're behind them in line, especially if there's like a little bit of like a tightness
Yeah.
to your schedule, and you're like, can
Yeah.
I just go around? Like, I wish there was a line. Like, I wish TSA meant not only I paid money and passed a test,
Yeah.
but like I do this a lot,
Right.
and I'm not gonna like zone out and just like chat the whole time, and then when it gets to be my turn, be like, oh, oops, I don't have my ID,
Yeah.
and I have a bottle of water, and I forgot.
Right. And, like, this information is published, you know. And, you know,
They're
like,
also repeating it nonstop.
And they're telling you nonstop in their screens, and it is confusing. I'll admit that. Like there's
Sometimes.
sometimes where it's like, you know, even traveling a lot, and it depends on the airport, and you're like, do I take my laptop out? Do I leave it in?
Well, and
but
then you
like,
deal with the guy.
yeah, and then you deal with the guy who's just like, you know,
Says nothing.
says nothing,
And then he's like, oh, you're supposed to take your shoes off. I'm like, why am I going through TSA pre-check then? The
and he's
pre-check
like-
line.
and he's already like shoved your bags through. He's like, oh, if you're TSA, just show me your boarding pass, and you don't have to take your shoes off. And you're like,
Okay, I can't show you now.
yeah. And that would have been nice to know, like, when I was going through the TSA pre-check line.
But when that happened, there were two different like agents,
Yeah.
and you went to one and I went to
Yeah.
the other, which we shouldn't have done. You're supposed to do together. But they were literally having like a personal, private
Yeah.
conversation across the lane with
Which
each
goes
other.
back to the customer service episode. But, like,
Right. But like,
yeah.
if it's a TSA line where it's not like TSA 100% is this
Yeah.
side and general is this side, they're supposed to say like, show the guy your boarding
Yeah,
pass. Like
exactly.
I didn't know that he didn't know.
And, like, is this not, like, a matter of national
Security.
security? Where, like, you should be focusing and paying attention to your job. But,
Here's the other reason why it pisses me off though. Like
Yeah.
take my shoes off, fine. Like I don't
yeah,
like
it doesn't really matter.
I don't really
the
care.
X-ray thing.
It's the
doesn't
X-ray
really-
thing. I
yeah.
really don't appreciate that because I'm like, I can't prove it because my
Yeah.
boarding pass is on my phone, which just went through the thing.
That being said, though, like, just being in an airplane at that altitude, you're exposed to so much more than an X-ray. But, like, you know, like,
Like radiation
yeah,
in an airplane?
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, you should do some research on that.
I don't want to.
Yeah, it's like
because I'm still gonna
'cause
fly. I don't want to know.
The atmosphere absorbs a lot of like cosmic radiation and stuff. From
That sounds
the sun.
positive.
No, that's good.
Cosmic radiation.
Yeah, no, that's good. But once you get above a certain amount of atmosphere, you're just passing through you. So like,
Okay.
yeah,
That's disappointing.
You might have
Cosmic
superpowers.
sounds- I mean, it doesn't sound like a bad thing
yeah.
to me.
Who knows? But yeah, so not too much to complain. I mean, like, yeah, like packing your bags and making sure like you have your stuff in order and you know what you need to do.
That's the part of like me
Yeah.
traveling a lot that doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
Like I can do that with my eyes
Yeah.
closed. It's when, and okay, here's the other thing. This is the bigger issue. There are, okay, if you know me, you know, we talked about this in the restaurant episode.
Yeah.
I sound like an asshole who's like totally full of myself
Yeah.
and like, pretentious, like whatever. But like the truth is, I worked in the service industry and I'm just a nice person and
Yeah.
I'm too afraid to speak up. That's
Yeah.
that's the real truth. So like,
Well, you don't want to like again, like you don't want to. You're not going to cause a scene in that scenario and be like,
This is-
ridiculous," and then you get slowed down even more.
well, okay,
Or like they're like, "Well, let's pull your bag and take a look at everything." Then,
well,
You know,
fine,
like-
do it. I don't have
but
anything
like
in
you know,
there,
but you're in a hurry and whatever else. You don't want to
it's not
create
that,
that
though.
extra.
It's
That's what's going through my head.
stop it.
But you know,
Oh my god. No, my point is, if I ever like mustered up the courage
Yeah.
to say something and be like, this is wrong, or like, I don't appreciate this, and it's not my job. Like the driver that was picking up a client in New York,
Yeah.
he was complaining to me about how frustrating the situation was. It was
Yeah.
really hard for me to be like, you're directing this at the wrong person. I had a
Yeah.
right to say something.
Yeah.
I don't feel that I have
Ultimately, we figured out he was not in the wrong entirely, but
exactly
that's a different
story.
conversation.
No, but like the thing is with travel and TSA agents specifically, I am so powerless. We all are. I
Yeah.
am too afraid, even if they're an asshole. I wanted to stop and say something to that guy, but I'm like,
Yeah.
not only is there potential for being slowed down, I just feel like they have all the power in that situation, and I'm way too afraid to say anything. So they get like a pass
Yeah.
to be jerks.
And I'm sure they get audited and all this other stuff.
Oh my
and
God, I want that job.
whatever
I want
else,
to be
but-
like a secret shopper.
a
Remember
secret
that?
air,
Yeah.
secret flyer.
Yeah. Oh my God. That'd be so fun. It's just like
Your
when you,
superhero name. That's what you get with all the cosmic radiation as you become secret flyer.
I just remember secret shoppers when we worked retail.
Yeah.
Like I want to be a secret flyer
Yeah.
who can go through and like, oh my God, I saw something on Instagram. It was a guy walking across a busy crosswalk, probably in New
Yeah.
York. And like he was like dressed up like he was playing
Oh,
soccer.
I just thought about the next thing.
Oh my God, we are awful.
Yeah.
This is terrible. But he like ran over to this random guy and like pretended like he fell
Yeah.
like a soccer player. And then
Right.
this other guy ran up all in black with a yellow card.
Yeah.
And he was like, it was like a penalty. So I want to be like the secret flyer going
Yeah.
through TSA. And then they do something and then just
Pull
all
your badge
just-
out.
Yeah. Same with
Okay,
driving.
so we're through security. TSA is annoying. It's necessary. I get it. National security, all the other things.
Transportation Security
Security.
Administration.
Is that a DFW only joke?
I don't know.
I think it is. I think they have different ones in different airports.
They say TSA and then
Yeah.
they explain. They go TSA, Transportation Security
And
Administration.
it plays on a loop.
And it's like, just say one or the other.
Yeah.
Like, why say both?
Yeah. If you're going to feel the need to explain it.
Exactly. Then
Yeah.
don't say TSA.
But I guess some people don't even know what it stands for. They've heard TSA before. I don't know. Anyway,
They shouldn't be at airports then.
we're through security. And this is a general walking around in public thing.
I'm not through security yet.
Okay.
People at the end of the conveyor belt to get their stuff, that's where they stop and put their shoes back
Oh,
on.
yeah. No, get
and
out of the way.
There's a literal, like a redress area. It's right
Yeah.
there. Go over there.
Grab your bag, stack your bin.
Stack your bin.
Don't just leave it there. Stack your bin. You know, some of the new places, it'll like auto feed and
Mm-hmm.
like go back into the queue on its own. But like you had to put it in a bin and the people just leave it. And then like there's like I end up being the person that restacks them.
Me too. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like carts at grocery stores.
And I think it's like, again, it's one of those
put 'em away
things
for
like,
everyone.
and that's perfect segue because we should do like a little like explosion on that. That's a thing. And I can't remember where I heard about this, but it's a test of like whether you're a good person or
like
not.
how psychotic you are.
Yeah. It's like a test of like if you are a like empathetic person or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's called the shopping cart test. And like if like what you do with your shopping cart in a grocery store parking lot or like, you know, any parking lot that has shopping carts, what you do with your shopping cart is a 100% indicator of like how you will act in life. Oh man. Yeah. And so the point being is like if you because there's no enforcement. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
shopping carts are not enforced. There's rules and like there's a suggestion of
There's
like
signs posted
put it
begging
in,
you
put
to
it in
put
the
them away.
corral, you know, whatever. But like there's no enforcement. Nobody's out there like, hey, you didn't put your shopping cart out. What the
Until
fuck?
they let me do it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be a different story.
But like, you know, so like because there's no enforcement, the how you respond or how you act in that situation is like an indication of how you act in life.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're the type of person like, oh, unload your groceries and you look around and there's no corral and you just leave your fucking cart in a parking spot, that's an indication of that you will like not follow the rules because they're not enforced and you don't care about how it affects other people. On the other end of the spectrum, there are the people that are like, look around, they're like, oh, well, I'll take my cart back up to the front of the store, even though I have to walk
All the
2
way back.
minutes
Right.
both ways.
Right.
And like, might as well collect the other carts on the way. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
right.
and so it's the same thing with whatever we were just talking about.
We're on like 8 different tangents right now.
It's the same thing with the, the bins or, how you act in the airport security line. Like, if you're just leaving your bin there because it's not your problem anymore, like, you're obviously a terrible fucking person.
And you should never be allowed to travel again or shop at grocery stores.
But, like people like us who are going to restack the bins and make sure they're there, we're excellent people.
We are a pleasure to deal with all the time. Yes. No, I mean, like, yeah, with things like that, I don't know. Like, is it just how you were raised? Is it something you're just like, it's just like a natural quality that you have? But I don't know. Growing up, if my parents saw me do something like that, they'd be like, "Are you kidding me? Like, go back and do it." Like,
is
it's
that
not
how you're supposed to. You think somebody else is going to do that for you, or like, I think,
is that where you found that? No.
And then you're like walking back through the security line to get to the front. And they're like, "You can't come back." And my mom told no,
but she said.
And I think by extension, and I think like all of this, everything that frustrates me about traveling is like, just those common sense, like common decency, like, who told you it was okay to act like this? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, are you thinking about anybody except yourself?
What's weird to me is like, there are some conversations around like, I don't want this to turn into this, but like the way men think and the way women think. Like, there are times where I think you're totally serious, and like, tell me now if you were kidding all along, but you're capable of like not thinking about anything. There's just nothing happening.
Yeah.
That's not a thing for me. And I don't know if it's my personality type or like
I think I'm just stupid.
No, I think I've heard that it's like
a tumbleweed in there.
Men are capable of that, and women are like, absolutely not ever. There is always something. And it's not like it's anxiety and worry. It's just like it's constantly moving in there. So it makes me wonder if like there are people just out in the world who are going through something like busy security at a major airport, and it's just nothing's happening. Yeah. And they're like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And the guy's like, I want you to put your water bottle. I said no liquids 50 times. Yeah. So are they just not there?
I think that there are people that are just not thinking. There are people that just, that don't care.
I'm just going to do it. I hate those
whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's not that cold.
And
he's that guy.
And then I also think that there are people like, that never travel. And they're like, oh, I've never... I went on a plane once 20 years ago.
I am nice to those people. That's why I get to bitch about this.
And they're like, I went on a plane once 20 years ago. I'm stressed out. I don't know any of the rules.
I help those people.
Oh, do I throw my water bottle? It's like, that I think there's a variety of people. But in general, it's just like past security, which is a common sense thing. Sorry, I said that wrong. Past security, which is like a bunch of random fucking rules that nobody knows. And
Airport rules are different rules.
Changes time to time. But like a lot of the stuff that I have to complain about beyond the security checkpoint are not random rules.
Okay.
So like when you walk out, you get through security, open up into the terminal, and you're like, all right, we're down this way. Let's go. We should get, a bottle of water because we just had to throw ours away.
Yep.
We should get, we have time to get something to eat because of course you're at an airport, so you have to eat something.
Even if you're not hungry, like what is that? I'm like, I just ate breakfast like 20 minutes ago, but I have to go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. And like, I will say that airports are the only place where eating McDonald's is acceptable to me. It's like
when we were there last week, we were like, we're in Terminal B, and if you know DFW Airport, B is the literal worst.
Yeah.
And you're like, our only option is random barbecue place or McDonald's. Yeah. But McDonald's is on the other end of the terminal. So and I'm like,
random barbecue place.
But I really want those chicken nuggets right now.
Yeah. I don't like McDonald's, and I don't really ever want to eat there. But like, if you're in an airport, I'm like,
it's different. It's just different.
Me some McDonald's. It's, it's like you're traveling. So anyway, you're trying to figure out what to do, what you have time for, get to the terminal, your flight's boarding soon. And you're like, all right, massive 24-foot walkway with traffic rules, assuming, people going this way or on the right, you're walking on the right.
No one.
And you walk out and there's a family just standing in the walkway looking at their phones.
Yeah, they're not even like attempting to like. It's obviously not a like, oh God, we're stressed. Which way are we supposed to be? They're just standing there.
Yeah, and like this is a place where people are literally sprinting to get to their next flight or whatever else, or like, you know, everybody's trying to, and like stand to the side. And like this isn't just airports.
I was gonna say this is like a general.
This is like, and I think it's
street.
like, I wouldn't even, I don't know. Like, is it like a people that haven't ever lived in a big city kind of thing? But like, you know, like even walking around New York or even walking around Dallas, there's just people standing on the sidewalk.
What's worse is,
and you're like, move to the side.
What's worse is when you see the origin of that, which is you're walking behind people and they're probably already kind of slow and confused or meandering a little bit, which is the worst. I'm like, if you're going to be slow, that's fine. I'm going to go around you.
Yeah, but don't like
But
slowly.
I can't when you, you know. So when you see the origin of it, they're probably already slow in the first place.
Yeah.
And then they just stop.
Yeah.
And you're like,
when you're
if you have to stop, move to the side. I'm begging you.
Yeah. So I think that's like, if we're going to set up some PSA rules to impart to the people, like, if you have to check your phone,
step to the side.
Go to a wall.
Just go to the side.
Go sit down and then pull your phone out. Go to the side, because like, yeah, when you're in a hurry and you've got your bag and you're, you know, walking and you're like, you know, trying to get to your terminal, and suddenly the person in front of you just stops, like, you're like,
it's kind of like when you see like,
and you want to be like, and especially like, hold on. You know, you want to be like, of course you just like, and then you like shake your head and you walk around them and you're like, grumble. That's what we do. And you want to be like,
I know what you're going to say. I was just starting to say this.
Yeah. You want to be, and especially when you're in New York, you know, walking down Fifth Avenue or whatever, and the person stops in front of you, you want to be like New Yorker guy and be like, hey,
you want to be Robert De Niro.
Here, come on.
You want to be Robert De Niro.
Like,
exactly.
What the fuck are you doing? You know, it's like,
you know what I want to do? Mine's a little different from yours. Yes, I want to yell, but I also want to pretend they stopped so fast that I couldn't stop, and I want to just run right into them.
God, I want to do that sometimes. And especially like, and I'm large, you know, so like I've never done this. I will preface by saying that I've never done this.
We are very nice in public. Like, we sound like terrible people, but we are very patient and nice.
I'm 240 pounds. Like, I work out, I lift weight, you know.
I bench 315.
Yeah, at least. And so like, when like there are times, and especially like obnoxious children, and again this is just in my head, I don't do this, but like when a kid gets into my way, or a person or an idiot, I want to like shoulder check them and just fucking knock them over.
This is what I was starting to say a second ago when you I was like, wow, and you wanted to keep going. I was exactly what I was going to say is, when you see the kid or, you know, adult man walking towards you and you're like, he's going to hit me. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm going to let him. Yeah. And that's happened to me before, where I literally let it happen. And then they're very like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, did you just at me?
Yeah.
You weren't looking, but you let it happen. It's like with kids, it's one thing. It's just like that. I'm not blaming the kid. I'm blaming the parent. Because again, I grew up with parents who were like my dad was like, when I was that age, like the little kid meandering around, my dad was like 57 years old. He did not, and I was the fourth kid. Like, he did not have time for that. He would probably like grab me by the elbow and be like, get over here. Yeah. So I just don't have patience for it. I don't know.
Yeah. And like one day I will snap and I will do that, and I'll knock some old lady over, and I'll be like, and immediately feel bad.
Of course, if it's a little old lady.
Yeah.
Pick the annoying 14-year-old kid that's not paying attention. That's a better example. But
like every single time, I'm like, I'm gonna run right into this person. I'm not stopping.
Do you know what makes me crazy though?
What?
Kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. Even when I'm 100% justified, because again, like, I can't stress this enough. I am extremely nice, even when I have a right to throw a little bit of a fit. Why is it so incredibly hard to know what to say in the moment? It's only later when you're on a walk, or you're telling your husband what happened, or you're in the shower.
Like life in general.
Like, I can't get past like this driver. We were getting breakfast at DFW Airport. A driver was hired to pick someone up, a client of mine, at LaGuardia Airport. And this person had never been to New York before.
Yeah.
I was very anxious about this. The time before when he came to an event, the car at the airport left him.
Yeah.
I'm very nervous about this. And I'm like, this company seems great. They have the information. The client has the information. They have his phone number. They're going to contact him.
Yeah.
And then it's all going sideways.
Yeah.
No one,
course.
no, everyone's, literally, the client, the driver, and the customer service rep, who was very nice, of the car company, they're all contacting me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how is it actually possible that none of you are able to talk to each
Yeah.
other? Literally none of you. And I'm getting frustrated because I'm like, why is this happening to this exact person
Yeah.
a second time? And there's literally nothing I can do.
Yeah.
So the driver calls me and I'm like, I'm guessing he doesn't understand country codes. I've called him. It's not working. You got to hold down the 0 until
Yeah.
the plus shows up. Anyway, he was not very nice. And
Yeah.
he was like complaining and venting and clearly very frustrated. And like, I just feel like in that moment, I had every right to use some strong language with him.
Yeah.
And be like, how dare you make me feel like I'm doing something
Right.
bad? But of course, this is me. You sound a little upset right now, and I just feel and I'm really sorry about that. Why am I apologizing? I just wish it was like, I want like training. I
Yeah.
want to know how to know in the moment what to say, because it feels very unfair. And then of course, sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
Then of course, I email the woman, Pam, very nice. I still
Yeah.
like Pam. And I tell her, I'm like, I just feel like this was inappropriate and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And honestly, like having been on the other side of that for a long time, maybe this is just me, but if I were Pam, I would have been like, really not cool. I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah.
This ride's on us.
Yeah.
I just feel like I shouldn't have to ask for it. I feel like I'm giving you all the information you need to offer me
Yeah.
something more than an apology. And it didn't happen. It was just
Right.
like, I'm very sorry about that. If you want to do meet and greet for the future pickups, it's $30 and I can only apply it to 2 of them. And I'm like, then do it for free
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many factors there that who knows.
Was there a cat outside just now?
Yeah. There was a cat that walked by.
It was it.
A little like gray and kind of tabby looking. Not softy
It wasn't,
gray.
it wasn't Mordecai?
No socks or yarmulke.
I love him so much. Okay.
There's a cat that looks. He has.
We're gonna show the picture. He has a yarmulke and he has little.
Is that racist that we call him Mordecai?
No, it's it's like a classic Jewish
Yeah,
name.
but we're stereotyping him. Anyway,
Should we go with like Jacob?
I mean, I feel like that's still
I have Jewish friends. Remember the comedian in New York?
I have lots of black friends. No.
There's a 70% chance that my name is Rachel.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm the same way, like where there's
You
an
are.
awkward
You are.
like customer service issue. And I'm just like, I like just kind of like this.
I don't know how to
sucks.
tell you how to do the right
No,
thing.
I'm not
giving you a
gonna-
chance
I'm
to
never
offer.
gonna like blow up and be like mad publicly or like call anybody out or anything. It'd have to be like egregious where like I actually say something, and I'm usually just like, well, this sucks.
I just remembered a time where I'm really proud of myself right
Yeah.
now. I actually did. And it was when I was on that college trip going across Europe with the World
Yeah.
War II, and I got food poisoning in Paris.
Yeah.
And this is before cell phones, and maybe not before cell phones. No, before international
Yeah. Before you had, like-
connectivity.
yeah.
And you were trying to reach me.
Yeah.
And you were calling the hotel, and they wouldn't put it through to the room.
Yeah.
And then I can't even remember exactly what happened, but we were like leaving the hotel, and I was so sick and so fed up and so angry that I couldn't update you or my family.
Yeah.
I fully let it out on someone at the hotel because they were basically some version of they were blaming me for all the phone calls and
Yeah.
like they weren't putting it through or something. That's probably the only time in my entire life that I actually stood up for myself.
Well, it's like, isn't that like a thing at hotels that you can contact somebody staying there?
You had done this was like the end of my trip. You
Yeah.
had called every other hotel
Yeah.
that I had stayed at successfully. So
Yeah.
it was something ridiculous. I don't
Like,
even remember the
I-
circumstances.
a hotel being like, oh, we're getting a lot of calls. Like,
I don't even remember what it was. It's so stupid.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm.
Should we move on to boarding?
Okay. Boarding. One, just because it's recent, One thing that's, I think is, and this is a comment about the entire like travel experience. Everybody's in such a hurry to get to the next step.
Even though they have to wait at the next step.
And like, it's, you know, and like just, there's some arguments that you can make, and I totally can sympathize and understand.
I already have like 4 because I know what you're talking about.
When the plane arrives, like when you've been on the plane for 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever, you know, 2 hours, and like as soon as the seatbelt sign comes off and you're done taxiing,
I stand up.
People
sorry.
stand up.
I'm sorry. I
and
stand
get
up.
to
I'm
that.
one of those people.
I don't. I sit until I'm like,
I have been
ready to-
sitting. I need to stand
and
up.
I get that. Like, and like some people have like back issues or knee issues or whatever, and like they're in pain, you know, like, so I get it. But like at the same time, I'm like, you could be standing there for 15 minutes, like hunched over because you can't stand up straight.
That's why I'm the type. I'm always the aisle seat. I won't, unless I absolutely have to. Like, I plan ahead and I'm in the aisle. So I stand up to stand up fully. I'm not going to like awkwardly be in my seat like this. But here are the people that do this are fine with me. The people who get their bag and come into someone else's space, not okay with that.
Yeah.
If you can stand comfortably in the aisle next to your seat and you didn't like fight the guy across the aisle, or it's your husband or whatever, fine. It's the people that like get their bag and like push up into you. And I'm like,
and it's one thing if, and again, like there's circumstances, and I totally understand it. You never know what's going on with somebody. And like, you know, maybe they have a really tight connection and they have 15 minutes to get off of this plane and get to the next plane before it leaves, you know?
they should be speaking up.
And like in that case, like, yeah, just say like, hey, I'm really sorry. I have a tight connection. Do you mind if I move up? And like, that's all you need to do.
Literally, most people, if you say that, they're like, oh my God, of course.
Yeah.
But if you don't say anything, they're like, fuck you, man. I'm going to stay in your way because you're being rude
I'm
and pushy.
gonna take my time. Like, oh, I can't quite get my bag
Oh
out.
no.
But
Got a cramp. Give me a minute.
why is that so funny?
Because you don't get cramps in your arms, really. It's I'm so weak.
I can't quite lift it. I saw this woman in DFW when you were, and like, to her credit, the Starbucks that you were at, you were getting coffee, was the slowest Starbucks I've ever experienced.
Spencer, the woman at the register, how you doing today? I'm like, I'm fine. There's a lady behind me who won't stop standing 3 inches behind me. I just want to order a coffee and I want to get out of here. But I'm really nice. I'm like, I'm great. That's very nice of you. How are you doing? You know what? It's another blessed day. And I'm like, God damn. She took up most of the time.
And then I saw the guy making the
he
drinks,
was not
and
interested
he was
in hurrying.
going slow. And he wasn't even saying anything. He would just put him on the counter, and like you just had to know that it was.
And there's a sweet little old man who's like, "Oh, this is mine." And he goes, "Is your name Nick?" And he's like, "Excuse me? Is your name Nick?" I was like, "Don't talk to him like that. He is a little old man with a cane."
Yeah. So I was standing outside the Starbucks, and we're right next to a terminal, like a gate.
Gate. You keep saying terminal, and I'm like, we're in the terminal.
I travel a lot. We're right next to a gate. It's not ours, you know. We're just by the Starbucks, so you're getting coffee, and I just like eaten an entire breakfast sandwich or whatever, washed my hands, gone to the bathroom, and was still waiting for 10 minutes for a coffee to be prepared.
And this was an iced matcha, just so you know. That is powder, ice, milk.
Yeah.
And you shake it a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm watching this lady, and like, I don't know the circumstances, I don't know the situation, but she was so like visibly and like audibly stressed out because the plane at that gate was boarding, and she's just standing there, and she's like,
then get on the plane.
We gotta go.
Then go. Leave them.
Your stupid coffee, and like, and she like walks over like right next to me, looking in the little window to the Starbucks, and she's just like, and like I guarantee, and like it could be that they're like final boarding for flight whatever.
If I'm waiting for a friend to get her stupid Starbucks and they're saying final boarding,
it was probably the little old man. It was probably not Nick.
Oh,
but
not Nick. I would be on the plane, Spencer. There's no way I'm waiting for you.
No, you would have waited.
For you?
You wouldn't.
No, I know. I'm saying you would never
Yeah.
put me in that position
No,
because
I
usually
wouldn't.
I'm the one doing that
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
But then I'd be like, I do this all the time. Just get
Yeah.
on the plane. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
I'm really rude to you. No one else, just you.
God. But very likely that they're like now boarding. And again, like, you know, I'm going to make an assumption here, but I'm like, if you're that stressed out about the plane boarding, I'm going to guess that you're probably like group 5.
I knew
or
no
6.
worse. I was gonna say 8. I knew you were going for the. I knew you were
and
going
so,
for
like,
the group dig.
yeah.
Because you're never group 1 unless
Yeah.
you're with me.
At best 2.
Pretentious alert.
Yeah.
I'm executive plat.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't wait till the onboard experience and I can tell.
And I'm like, you got time, lady. Like, even if, you know, your group has been called, you know, it's another 20 minutes, 30 minutes until this plane, it like closes the doors. Like, you're fine.
All you need to know is 10 minutes before is when they close the doors.
You might, and we'll get to this in a second, not have a place to put your bag, but like, that's worst case scenario. And so it's just like, you know, boarding, people are in such a hurry, and like going, I just remember where I was. People are in such a hurry to get to the next step and get on the plane as soon as possible so they can sit in their seat with no air conditioning, no airflow, waiting for everybody else.
I'm going to
board
push
as
back
soon as
again.
possible.
And here's why.
Yeah, because of the people.
Because of the people who put both bags
Yeah.
in the overhead. It makes me like see red.
Yeah.
Literally nothing makes me more angry on flights other than like people who are outright
Yeah.
like verbally abusive to flight attendants
Yeah.
who are usually like lovely people.
Yeah.
But watching them do that, and then you see, okay, and pretentious alert number
Right.
5. I am usually on the plane like first because
Yeah.
I travel so much. I have really good status with American
Right.
and I only fly American.
We only fly, and like, you know,
So
we
I
can talk about
watch
this, yeah.
every person
Yeah.
get on the plane and I watch the asshole people, especially like just oblivious tall people who just think like, oh, I'm tall, I need the foot space. No, I'm sorry, you're not
Yeah.
more special. So then it gets to the end of the process.
Maybe get a, you know, more expensive seat if you take up more room.
Get
I
a
don't
better
know.
job
Like,
that pays
yeah.
you more and you can like fly in first and not worry about it. It makes me so mad. So then you see people come in and they're like, my seat is right here.
Yeah.
10A or whatever. Like
Yeah.
they're not even like at the back of the plane or midway through where people have like filled, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know, I'm sitting right here. What am I supposed to do with my bag? And I'm like, I'm looking at the backpack that belongs to that guy. And I'm about
Yeah.
to literally be like the Catholic nun teacher that just smacks him on the back of the head and is like, get up and get your
Yeah.
bag. That makes me crazy.
like,
So
there-
that gives me stress. And
Yeah.
I know the common public.
Yeah.
And if I'm bulkhead, I'm getting on the plane first
Yeah.
because I got to put both bags up there.
Yeah.
And
that's
that's
the one
rule.
case where you do have to.
Exactly.
And I have a few
I just said I
complaints.
wanted to be a Catholic nun. I mean, what is happening?
There are a few complaints I have at different parties here. One, if you know, like, if the rule is, and so for people that don't know, right, when you get on a plane, no matter who you are, you get one carry-on
And a personal item.
and a personal item. So that could be your suitcase and a backpack, suitcase and your purse, whatever, you know, or 2 backpacks, you know, whatever it is. You
Duffel
know?
bag, whatever.
Yeah. And like your personal item goes under the seat in front of you. Your carry-on goes in the overhead bin because
And
it
they are
doesn't fit,
repeating that
right?
literally ad nauseum.
And my complaint with the airline is, why do the bulkhead seats not have an allotment of more than one spot to put their bag?
It's really like honestly, bulkhead.
You know
I
that
avoid it.
everybody's going to have 2 things, so
Yeah.
why do I have one spot when
Yeah.
I have to put 2 things up?
Newer planes these days they actually do have
Yeah.
the bulkhead front thing
Yeah.
doesn't go all the way down,
Yeah.
which is smart because it's like, duh.
Yeah.
But it's like I honestly avoid bulkhead at all costs
Yeah.
unless it's like the only good option on the plane, the only aisle seat or whatever, because it's so stressful.
Yeah.
Because no one follows the rules.
And then, yeah, my other problem with the entire baggage thing is that it's not enforced at all. And like, you have all these rules
Sometimes.
about where things can go and all this other stuff. You have a seat that has, you know, you're an A1, A2, A3, whatever. 1B, 1C.
He travels a lot,
Yeah.
you guys.
I don't pay attention.
You
to
say the
numbers.
number first.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
You're in-
It's just funny.
Yeah, row 1, seat A, B, C, D, or whatever.
Okay.
A, B.
Okay,
E,
one
F.
number letter. That's it.
Yeah,
You don't say F2.
I didn't say that.
You were saying the letters first.
No, I mean
You were saying A2, A4.
yeah before, and I moved on.
No,
I
I know.
corrected myself.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
But like, there's a overhead bin that has your seat label on it.
Right. That's yours.
So you should put your bag in the one. And what makes me
That's what I'm
really
saying,
mad,
right.
and the people that immediately throw it off, are the people that board and just put their bag anywhere. Like, there are people that just put their bag at the front of the plane. And I'm like,
In first. And like this isn't like a class
Yeah.
thing. This is a just like, what are you doing
yeah,
thing.
put it in above your seat.
There's always more room up here. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Just go to your, and like the bulkhead thing does mess it up though. You're right, because each side of bulkhead
Right.
has one bin, and they
Yeah.
really should have 1.5 for the little personal items. Because honestly, like generously, half is women with
Yeah.
purses that need to go up there. They have
Yeah.
to. But if there's only one side or one bin per
Yeah.
side, then it's going to overflow and overflow and overflow.
Yeah.
So like the airline, like, do you not realize this?
yeah. And so I feel like it should be like, if you don't put your bag in your spot, like we're just gonna take it off the airplane. Like, sorry, I don't know. Can I see your ticket? Oh, you're supposed to be in 1A, and somebody's got their bag in 1A. That's not your bag. Okay, I'm gonna take it off.
You're right though that this is the like root of the problem is worse than people being oblivious
Yeah.
or just completely selfish. It's that no one is stopping them.
Yeah.
Just like the shopping cart thing, like when it's busy at the grocery store and you pull up and you're like, I finally found a spot, and you get halfway in and you're like,
There's a cart there.
there's two
Yeah.
carts or
Yeah.
whatever. And I don't know if they actually monitored it like they're
Yeah.
supposed to. And half the time you see, like, I honestly think flight attendants are great. I hardly ever have a negative experience with
Right.
one, except I'll get to that in a minute. But my God. But they're just like standing there watching, like, hi,
Yeah.
how are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. I am fine. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You need to go stop those people.
Yeah. And like, there are times where I travel as light as possible. Like, if I can just have my backpack, I will travel with just my backpack. Sometimes it's not possible, and like, whatever else. But like,
I have to call you out,
what?
especially if we're traveling together every minute.
Oh,
Do you have
well, I'll
Kleenex?
ask
Do you have
for
gum?
some. Yeah.
Do you have headphones? Do you have a charger?
Yeah.
Do you have a book for me to read? Do you have a water bottle? So it's easy for you to travel light because I carry
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, that's your role. I'm just kidding. But like, even if I'm traveling by myself, I will pack just a backpack if I can. And like, if I just have a backpack, I'll usually put it under the seat in front of me, because I'm like, well, I mean, I don't need to take room. I know that it's going to be stressful. I probably want to get to my backpack anyway. I'm not
True.
going to get up.
Even
and
though,
make-
like, honestly, if you have one item,
Yeah.
even if it's the small item, I think
Yeah.
that you do still get
Yeah.
your allowance of
Yeah.
one spot in the overhead bin.
And like, so like, when you see people breaking the rules and like doing it wrong, it's just that much more infuriating.
Yeah. No, it is a
And the
rule. I
other
don't think it's a
thing-
rule.
And you already touched on this, but that's the other thing that really pisses me off, was when, after they've said you get one carry-on item and one personal item, please put your personal item under the seat in front of you, and you see the guy come back and he puts his jacket and his backpack and his suitcase and he just takes up a whole bin, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Cool. Happy for you. And again, he always gets into his seat and stretches out with like the,
Yeah.
completely audible, like, and I'm like, oh, that's nice for you.
yeah.
I can't stand it. I really can't stand it.
So that's terrible. And then this always happens to you. This never happens to me, I feel like.
Oh, God.
I've seen this happen to you repeatedly.
Everything happens to me.
Repeatedly.
Oh my God, I know what you're going to say. I'm
where-
already so mad.
You're sitting, as you've said, you sit in the aisle seat generally.
Because I have to go to
You
the bathroom
try
like
to.
3 times.
Yeah, and like, understandable. And like, every single time the person, they're boarding the plane, and like, just logistically, what do you think needs to happen? You're boarding the plane and you're sitting in the middle seat or the window, and there's somebody in the aisle already because they've boarded first because they're executive platinum group 1. And they're in
Even
the way.
if you had to put your bag back here,
Yeah.
you come back.
Yeah. That person has to get up out of their seat, and there's a line of people behind you.
Where do
So,
you want
like,
me to go?
Stand You stand right in front of me, like, I'm right there. Like, what do you want me to do? It's
Okay.
like that Dane Cook. Like, I think it's Dane Cook. He has like a joke about like being in traffic. Maybe it's not Dane Cook. Anyway, comedian has a joke about being in traffic and like the guy behind him's honking, and he's like, I can't move. There's a car in front of me.
What is it that you would like for me to do right now?
My car is a solid state of matter. You can't pass through it.
Right.
Like, and so they're just standing there like, oh, I'm right there.
One time I'm like,
Could you move back so I can get out of my seat so you can get in? Like,
one time I had enough. I
Yeah.
think I had just been on one too many flights that quarter. And I literally go, and where would you like me to go? Like, I would love to. I literally was like, where do you want me to go? You're literally
Yeah.
just standing there,
Yeah.
and there's 100 people behind you.
yeah. And also there's like,
Worse
Yeah.
is when here's the aisle, right?
Yeah.
And here are all the seats, and like front of the plane's
and they
here.
walk past.
No, and they go past, and there's people here. So I'm like, and I definitely have done this.
Yeah.
So I'm in the aisle, and they're back behind me, and they're like, oh, I'm in there. So I get up and I face them, and
Yeah.
I'm like, now what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What's your plan now?
Yeah.
Why'd you go all the way back there?
Yeah.
And then I look around at the other person, they're just like as close to me as possible. I don't know, it just like, it irks me because it's like, look around.
Yeah. It's common sense stuff. Doesn't make any sense. There's something that popped into my mind just now and I lost it already, but
I want to move on to the flight attendant on this latest flight because it's actually a safety risk to leave her alone. I'm not
she was
kidding.
just dropping stuff and like
She's not
couldn't figure out how to close the overhead bin.
she's not ready, and like there's buttons and latches and things
Yeah.
that are serious issues, like safety issues.
Yeah.
And the other flight attendant who was training her was like, I'm not blaming her because she's probably like dealing with
Yeah.
like hundreds of people, and they're like, oh, also train her. And I'm like, and then I hear it like we're about to land, and she's like, oh, by the way, don't unlatch the door until X, Y, and Z happens. And I'm like, don't let her unlatch the door ever, like until she's ready. But like, don't just forgot to tell you as a reminder, don't unlatch the
I think
door.
it's a different story entirely.
It is,
But-
but my God, she was not ready to be unsupervised.
I mean, I think most people on planes aren't ready to be unsupervised.
Even the
and
passengers.
That's the problem.
True.
But yeah, I mean, and like, yeah, what do you like? Though, I was gonna say the other bad thing is, and especially
Another thing.
especially now, like where every year that goes by, they like the airlines sneakily try to remove an inch of legroom away.
What do you mean sneakily? I mean, it's just very obvious.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it's just slow. Like eventually, you're just gonna be like stand. I don't know. Like,
Did you go to the bathroom on the flight to New
no,
York?
I never go to the bathroom on planes.
Ever?
Maybe on a long flight, but
I go like 2 or 3 times.
I avoid it.
I literally have never
because
been in a bathroom so small. I walked in, I was like, Spencer's not going to
you told me
fit.
that I wouldn't fit.
He's
in there.
not going to fit. And I almost wanted you to go just to prove it. But I
Yeah.
literally, like, I've got some wide parts,
Yeah.
but like, I could barely fit. And then I
Yeah.
like couldn't quite turn around. I was like, he's going to get stuck in here.
Yeah. One, I never go to the bathroom.
That was more like audible than you realize.
Uh,
I can't wait to hear it.
I never go to the bathroom on planes because I just like all the other things we talked about. I'm like totally aware of my imposition on everybody around me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I would have to be about to like wet my pants
I've been there. It's terrifying on a plane.
before I'm going to be like, hey, sorry, I got to get up.
But you're usually in the aisle.
Yeah, but like if I'm not, you know what I mean?
This is why I avoid it, because I'm so stressed
Yeah.
thinking about that interaction that I
Yeah.
also want to avoid.
Like I'm never going to ask somebody to move on my behalf, so I'm just like, I will wait another hour. It's okay.
An hour?
And then like there, and I haven't seen this recently. I feel like when there was a little bit more legroom, you'd see it more often. But like the person that's sitting
And they're going for it.
sitting like in the middle or the aisle,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna squeeze past you." There's no squeezing past. You'd have to straddle me to get
Yeah.
over me. So like,
Yeah. No, yeah, those people are
Yeah.
weird. And like in first,
yeah,
there's more room, and I have definitely had people do that. And there was okay, I've had people do that. I've had a woman
yeah,
who, when I'm in the aisle, she's at the window. I've had a woman be like, "Don't get up, I got it." And like they're little, and like they
Yeah.
quit, and you're like, "That was kind of weird."
Yeah.
But like when it's the person in the window seat crawling over two
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
it's pretty comical.
Yeah.
You have to laugh at that. I'm asking. I'm not happy about it. I am very uncomfortable, but I'm more uncomfortable holding it. And I don't even have to go that bad.
Yeah.
It's just in my head
Yeah.
that I'm like, I think,
What if I have to?
side story not related to travel. You are a total sadist because you will want something. We'll get into bed
Yeah.
and you forgot something and you get
Yeah.
all comfortable and cozy and you go,
Oh yeah. I use it against you.
and you're like, my phone's in the kitchen. And I'm like, go get it. And you're like, oh, I'm so comfortable. Do you have to
probably go to the bathroom.
You have to pee, right? And I'm like,
no, now I do.
no, I just went.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I am fine.
I better go try.
So mad at you, but it's
Yeah,
brilliant.
It does work.
Yes.
We're getting to the point in the podcast where we've been complaining for so long that I keep thinking about stuff and then I lose it immediately. But okay. So all like in general, like all of the situations, if I like whenever I'm traveling, I'm always like, and this is going to sum up a few different things, and it's less complaining about something. It's more of like a confession about myself, right? When we're traveling, like if I'm in the middle or the aisle, like I'm not going to get up, I'll put my bag, under my seat. If I've just got my backpack, I'm not going to take up room because I know, like, I'm like of the people. Like when I'm when I'm, back there, I'm in it, in economy, and I'm like, everybody's got limited room. I'm sitting like this. Like I've come out of like flights
With like problems.
with like issues, like, cause like I am like inevitably, I always work out the day of or day before.
Well, and you usually do like upper body.
I'll do bench.
And you're sore,
I'll do
right?
like a bench workout the day of or day before, and then I sit like this because I'm trying to be as small as possible.
Or like,
and I'm on my laptop and I'm trying because like I'm aware of like my shoulders in this person's space, so I'm like in, and then like my like chest gets so tight that it like audibly pops when I finally stand up straight. So like when I'm in economy and like I'm like, I'm taking up some little room. I'm trying not to be a bollard because I know that everybody's stressed out. Everybody's dealing with it, all that other stuff. On the other hand, like, and the times
can't wait
that
to hear
we
what this
have
is.
had
What is this?
that we do travel first, and like it's surprisingly often because you travel so much that you have you're executive platinum with American, so like you get upgraded regularly. When we're on the same reservation, we both get upgraded regularly. So like we travel in first, especially domestically, pretty regularly, and like as soon as I get my like confirmation that I'm in first, like I become like elitist.
You do.
I'm
You
like
totally
immediately
changed.
just like no longer does any of that apply to me.
You're not of the people anymore.
I'm like the peasants are passing me. I am sipping my champagne and like
out of your plastic
do
tub.
not make eye contact with me. I am superior.
I feel
and
like when you do it though, it's like a caricature and it's you joking with me privately. You don't actually feel that way.
But it also kind of isn't. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Here's
Like,
my favorite thing about this situation because
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. You very suddenly are a total snob.
and like, another key example of that, and I'll let you finish that. But like another key example, when you're sitting in like economy and like you're more than halfway toward the front of the plane and you're like, well, the business class restroom is closer to me
sorry.
than the one in the back
I'm
of the
always
plane.
using that one.
So I'm like, I'm going to walk up there. What? I mean,
I've been
a
stopped
bathroom.
before. It was very awkward.
It's a bathroom. Why can't I go up there? I mean, it's, we're all in this together. There's more people back here than up there. Why should 12 people share one bathroom?
Oh, but then when you're in first.
And 75 people share the smaller one in the back.
75?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
150,
It's way more
whatever
than that.
it is, and then as soon as I'm in business class, I'm like, why are the peasants in my cabin? Like,
Don't
get
use
them
the
out
P word.
of here.
Come on.
And just like,
Oh my God.
and sorry, what were you going to say?
My favorite example,
Yeah.
and this has happened basically every single time, we have flown first
Mm-hmm.
and then economy.
Yeah.
or reverse economy and then first, right? So it has to be a trip where one flight is upgraded, one isn't. And you're right. Like, we have never just flat out paid for first class, domestic, business class. Like, that's beyond what we want to spend money on, or can even in some cases. So we just get lucky because I travel a lot and blah, blah, blah. We will be in first on the way out, let's say.
Yeah.
And you and I are in our seats, and, you know, they come around and they like put in front of you in little like sad plastic cups, like something to drink. And one of them is champagne. And you're like, okay. And it's like cheap, not even champagne.
Yeah.
Like, it's just sparkling wine. Pretentious alert. You take it, you're drinking it. And then as people are walking by, like, we joke to each other, like, peasants. Like, why aren't we boarding last?
Yeah.
We should be having champagne, which actually is a point I would like to make to airlines. Anyway.
We should be in a lounge drinking champagne
and we should
until
board
all the rest of the
and then we should take off after, but instead we
have boarded.
Right.
I use the other P word.
Poor?
I said people, but yes, the poor people.
Oh my God. So then, again, it's a big joke to us. And then the flight home, we're in economy, and we're walking through the first class cabin, and you're like, you think you're so much better than me, sitting up here drinking champagne, fake champagne out of your plastic cups. You like very suddenly switch back to this person that does not appreciate the pretentiousness of those people.
Yeah. What's worse is when you see a family and, like, you know, it's like some guy
period, because I hate children.
Yeah, I hate children. You see some guy and his like 7-year-old son or daughter is sitting in business class, and you're like, this is wasted on you.
A little bit, but like, you don't want a 7-year-old to not be sitting with their parents.
Well, who cares?
Do you want to sit next to an unsupervised
No,
7-year-old in economy? That's what I thought. You want them to stay together.
Yeah.
You don't.
But you're like, I mean, like, you're taking up, you would be in luxury in economy because you're like, you could fully recline.
Plenty of room.
You have all the room to do everything you need to do. And
selfish 7-year-old.
Hate them. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the switch flips in that, like, I immediately am like, you know, I belong here, and these people are, and like, speaking of like the shopping cart test, like, this is a full indication of if I were ever in some serious like position of power.
Sorry.
If I were ever in some serious position of power, I guarantee you, I would flip to like full North Korea dictator.
Oh
like,
my God.
Palace of gold, and everybody else can eat bark off trees. You know, like,
wow, like, Spencer. You're the man of the people, and then the second you have a taste of, and my favorite part is, and I'm just going to point this out one more time, this is just like you bragging about your backpack and traveling light, and the fact that the only reason you can is because I literally have like your clothes are in my suitcase, and I'm carrying both plastic bags of toiletries. All of the times that we've traveled in business, maybe like 1 or 2 times it was using our collective points with American. The only reason is because of me and my status and whatever. So it's even better that you're a snob about it. Okay, that makes me think of our recent flight to New York. We're in economy and we're both sitting in the aisle because I want to sit next to you, but to me that it counts being across the aisle from you. You are such a wide shouldered person. I don't stand a chance
and
in
like,
the middle seat.
And again, just like, I can't remember what you said earlier. Oh yeah, you're just saying like you're only rude to me, but like
that felt really fake. Just so you know.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I forgot. Oh,
that's
I just
right.
remembered.
You're just a huge bitch to me. No. But like, all of my being considerate and like trying to take up as little space and whatever else, like, we're married, so like, I'm like,
it goes away with me.
You have to live with it. Like, you know who I am.
You're like,
so
I'm trying to work.
So I'm like leaning into your space more to like, just like, I'm like,
and
I gotta
like
spread out.
Your leg is in my space.
I'm gonna use your underseat because I gotta stretch my legs out.
And then you turn to me and you're like, do you have gum? And I'm like, let me get it for you. I can't physically reach it, but I'll try. I'll like strain a muscle trying to reach your precious gum that you can't buy for yourself. It drives me crazy. But so we're on this flight and we're across the aisle from each other, and they come through with the like beverage cart.
Yeah.
And this time it was like there was like 3 carts, and the first one was like, they come by
Yeah.
and they're like, any food for purchase. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, we had eaten breakfast. I
Yeah.
had like multiple coffees. Like, I don't need anything else. So I'm like, no, I'm good. And I got a bottle of water. I'm fine. And she goes, well, you're an EP, so you can have whatever you want.
You're executive platinum, so you can have anything complimentary on us.
My
And it's
favorite
just
was
like-
the EP though, because
Yeah.
it felt like such a, she goes, you know, executive platinum.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you have? And she's like, we have a charcuterie and we have Pringles. And I'm like, great.
I'll have the charcuterie, which is just cheese and crackers. It's not.
It was a
even
Lunchable,
charcuterie.
basically,
Yeah.
which I still took it because it
Yeah.
was just, but I just remember like the whole thing happened. I look over and you're like, and then I'm like, I got it for you. And you're like, oh, okay.
And then I ate it all.
I took like 2 pieces and then you got the rest. But you do love that moment where they're like, you're an EP, so you can have
Yeah.
free Pringles. I'm like,
You spent $700,000 with us, so we can give you a can of
I
Pringles.
did not
I'm just
spend
kidding.
that much money.
No,
Okay,
but like that's
you
the,
just made me think of something
Yeah.
else on airplanes that I want to talk about.
what?
And again, it's a first class story
Okay.
where the alcohol is just, it's as if people who fly first don't have access to alcohol
Yeah.
otherwise. So I'm on a flight recently. I think it was back in the fall or maybe in February. There was some early flight. It was pretty early.
Yeah.
I think it was like, oh God, hold on.
If we're and like just to well, you think about that. If we're
It's important. So I really
Yeah.
do need to think of what this was, but go ahead.
if we're flying like internationally,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like an evening flight or whatever, and
It's
like
hard to resist.
and we're like it's an evening flight and it's something that we're doing for fun and it's not just for work.
Yeah. You're like comfortable, settled in. You got
And
your
then,
movie ready.
I've got
and-
like my my travel clothes on. I feel good, and like I'm ready to go.
You're gonna
and I'm all
stretch out and go to
cozy
sleep
and all stretched
soon.
out, and I'm like, yeah, I will have a glass of champagne. You know
I'm
what?
gonna say yes
I'm
to
gonna
that.
celebrate this. I think I was just moving the camera by mistake. I kicked the tripod. But like in general, I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't want to drink.
You sleep better when you don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, they're like when you see people order like multiple like rum and coke or vodka and like they're just like downing drinks constantly.
but
You're like,
they're like, I don't know. Like you never know the circumstances of people, but it's like work trips, like events. Like what I
Yeah.
do for a living is design and produce events. Something about 90% of the people I've worked with over the last almost 15 years is people acting like they have no access to alcohol
Yeah.
and they never drink. But then they're at a work function and they just go crazy. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's just like people on airplanes.
and I think it's like a little bit of like maybe because it's free, people are like, well, I might as well, like
Even though
Yeah.
I'm expected to be, awake and alert and
Yeah.
ready to work at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
it'll be fine. Okay, so this flight, I flew late to Charleston, but I flew at like 6:30 in the morning, Charleston to Miami.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty confident this was the Charleston to Miami flight. And I got upgraded because it's a 6:30 a.m. flight.
Yeah.
So like pretty easy on that one. And so I get to my seat and there's a guy next to me who looked like a professional football player. And I looked him up and he wasn't like NFL, but like pretty well known college football player. So they come by to get drinks and I'm like, I don't even it's not even 7 a.m. I don't want coffee on an airplane.
Yeah.
So like I'm fine. He orders a double Tito's and Coke. And I'm like, one, who drinks vodka and Coke? That is bizarre behavior. That's like psychotic behavior, if
Yeah.
you ask me. Like, you do not blend those two things. That's weird.
it's like somebody who's never doesn't know how to order
Yeah.
and they're just saying two things that they know.
Right.
That's what it sounds like. But
I'm like, now I want to try it and just be like, are you crazy? It gets worse, though.
Yeah.
It gets worse. 6:30 in the morning. But we board at 6. So this is happening at like 6:10 a.m. This guy has a problem, clearly.
yeah, and it's like and like you
I was like,
with,
6
and like in airports in general and on airplanes, there's a degree of
There's
like
fewer rules.
there's a degree of like we're in international waters, you know, like
Flying from Charleston to Miami.
And but like,
sure.
yeah, like maybe that guy had just come from Europe, and to him it's 6, you know, it's still
New.
or you know, maybe they're coming from Asia, I don't know, and it's like
Okay, I'm sorry. There's I'm going to keep on this. There's no excuse for
like
this
maybe
guy.
here we're gonna figure this out. He had come in from Asia, is 12 hours behind, goes to JFK. The only way he could get to Miami was to connect in Charleston. You know, like
Probably like one of the busiest paths, flight paths in the United States is JFK to Miami.
Yeah.
But sure.
But, you know.
You got to stop in Charleston at 5 o'clock
there's a
in the
degree
morning.
of like, and it's the same thing where like, just like we said before, like the only place that I'll eat McDonald's is... The only place I'll eat McDonald's is... You're so distracting.
Well, I think he's in the couch.
Yeah, he's an asshole. Cat has climbed inside the couch because he's a dick. He's showing off tonight.
There's a foot coming out of his face.
What a little jerk.
Oh my God, there's a foot again. Keep going, McDonald's.
Yeah, so the only place I'll eat McDonald's is in an airport, you know? And so like there's a degree of like rules no longer apply. Like it could be breakfast, lunch, dinner at any time as long as you're in an airport. And to a degree it's the same with drinks. You know what I mean? Like, and we talked about this recently, maybe it was a couple weeks ago. Like,
I need another drink.
When
God.
When it can be the morning and you're getting a glass of red wine or whatever. Yeah. And it's just like rules don't apply. You're on international time.
I'm sorry, but you cannot do that. Do you remember my story from before?
Exactly.
No, you can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's no situation where that's acceptable.
Yeah, no, it's not. But like as far as the service, they're like, I mean, we don't know where you're coming from, what you're doing.
They don't care.
If you're going to buy alcohol or whatever, if you're going to order it, we'll provide it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like rules go out the window. So yeah, I totally agree. But also like, and I think it's just a degree of like you get it and you can get it for free and it's accessible. So, and it's acceptable in that scenario. So you're just like, fuck it.
Yep. Okay. Let me get back to this guy. Cause there's more, believe it or not.
We should be wrapping this up
he's
anyway.
He's so rude. Okay. This is my final story about people on planes. He gets a double Tito's and Coke, right? So the big cup comes out full of ice, 2 Tito's. He opens both and he does like the little trick. Like he's done this a lot. I'm telling this guy is an alcoholic. He's got both bottles in like, across 3 fingers and like pours them.
Wow.
Fills it up, pounds it, just drinks it like water.
So he's got a maneuver.
Yeah. And then the Coke is like a side note thing. And right. And so then she comes by and she like takes the glasses and we're taking off. We're back up in the air and she's like, anything to drink? And I'm like, no, I'm still fine. It's only 6:45. And he's like, I'll do another one. I'm like, what's going to happen when it starts to catch up with him? And is there going to be a round 3? And like, pretty confident there was. Yeah. But just pounding straight. Now I feel bad because like, maybe this guy's dealing with something because he's just pounding straight.
Maybe he like
room temperature vodka.
Traveling from Charleston to Miami. Who knows? He's nervous about flying.
I don't know. But so, I mean, I think the spirit of Hypercritical is how do we improve? And I think the only way to improve is to treat this, like you said, as a PSA and like be aware of your surroundings. But everyone that we know, I don't feel like they're the problem.
You never know.
Good friend of mine caused a little bit of a problem in security, even though I warned him ahead of time. But we're not going to call him.
Okay, we won't talk about that. Nope. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, and it all comes down to, and I think the reason why it's so infuriating for us is, especially when you're sitting on the plane, watching everybody board, do all these things wrong. They're in the way. They're putting their bags up. They don't know how to communicate. All this other stuff, and it's like. It's not like something that comes from experience, even though we like accredited ourselves a little bit. Like, this isn't something where like, oh, I've traveled a lot, so I know not to be an asshole. Like, this should be common sense.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why it's most frustrating. But in general, I think it's just like, take a second and be aware of what you're doing.
Right.
And like,
I remember complaining about this. Like every time I'm on a flight and these things are happening, I'm texting you to complain,
Yeah.
or friends of mine that I work with who I traveled with a lot. And at one point, I texted these two girls that I worked with a ton, and we over text came up with an airline called Civilized Airlines.
yeah,
And you're not allowed to fly it unless you've passed tests.
yeah,
And anytime you break the rules, it's a strike system. And if you get to 3, you don't get to fly anymore.
yeah,
And there's so much space in between seats that you can fully recline without disturbing the person behind you. And there's no middle seats, and like pets fly for free because we like cats
Yeah.
and dogs and everything. Our couch is about to be destroyed, so we really should.
Yeah.
We're going to stop there. We're going to have a half a Manhattan while we make dinner, and that's going to be it for today.
okay.
This has been hypercritical, hypercritical. What's the name of the podcast?
Uh,
Hyper pretentious.
Pretentious.
Pretentious alert went off like 16 times
Yeah.
this episode.
Oh, we changed the name.
I'm kidding.
Man, I'm gonna have to make new graphics.
I'm joking. I'm saying
I'm
this
just
one was an
kidding.
especially pretentious.
Yeah, no, it was.
I have flown the world in first, and let me tell you, we should go.
All right, cut.
Bean is an asshole.
He really is a dick.
Can you believe him?
You haven't paid enough attention to me.
Do you know how long it took me to get him out of there? He shoves one little foot out and then